It is really great to be here, if only virtually, and I'm looking forward to a great day and a great couple of days with some fantastic speakers coming up. I'd also like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the various lands that we're dialing in from today. For me, that's the Eora people of the Gadigal Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Very honoured to have the opportunity to give this opening address, and I promised, I set myself 3 objectives. 1, keep it short. 2, say something interesting enough to warrant people listening. And 3, keep completely secret the fact that I don't really know very much at all about AI and cyber, and I'm a bit intimidated by some of the incredible speakers that we've got ahead of us today. Well, I think what I've promised to talk about are some of the opportunities that I see for SMEs and for researchers from collaboration in the AI and cyber space. That's a topic that's dear to my heart and close to the work that I do every day in CSIRO as sort of running the CSIRO services business. In any effective collaboration, what we want to achieve is something that's greater than the sum of the parts. From my perspective, part of the opportunity presented by AI is to reimagine tasks, approaches and outcomes. It gives us an opportunity to think about what humans are good at, what machines are better at, what the platform or network effects can be of thinking about what we're trying to achieve differently and with fresh eyes. I want to share with you briefly a project that was undertaken a couple of years ago now in New York, the CHAIR project. And in that project, what they did was play with reversing the role of the human and the machine in the design and manufacture process. That project produced 4 AI-designed, human-manufactured chairs, and there's a deeply amusing irony about them. The learning algorithm that they used trained on 500 iconic chair designs from the 20th century. The algorithm designed the new chairs, and then people used those designs to manufacture them. The project really was exploring what could happen if the imagination element was provided by the generative adversarial neural networks to stimulate or augment the imagination of the human designers. Closer to home, I recently listened to a really interesting podcast, which was thinking about the growing sophistication of personal assistant devices and the likely trajectory of those devices. The devices that are moving towards a situation where they are able to take data from your smart meters around your home, compare that data to all available electricity offerings across the market, and advise you when to shift providers. And that's just the beginning. How much of our lives we can outsource to a device which is both better suited to the sort of task at hand and better able to focus on it is a real question for us. But also I wonder about the trust relationship that we have with those sorts of recommendation systems, particularly if they're actually paid by providers of services to influence or improve recommendation rankings. And I wonder as well about what happens to the marketing spend of companies. Is it actually redirected away from people and towards the algorithm or the bot itself? Effectively using AI is all about collaboration. Companies can really benefit from optimising collaboration between humans and artificial intelligence, whether that's by reimagining business processes, supporting experimentation and employee involvement, adopting a direct AI strategy, collecting and gaining insight from data, or redesigning work to incorporate AI and cultivate the related employee skills. In this environment, there are some really interesting questions of scale and significant emerging opportunities for startups and SMEs. At some level, the power of AI is really only realised when it's implemented at scale. At the same time, big organisations with the ability to do big things sometimes struggle to be innovative. I think about the challenge for an organisation like CSIRO in trying to implement big changes. Digital disruptions, even in relatively modest scale, can be difficult. And so it can become very challenging to really shake things up. And I think it's the same is probably true for many big companies and for governments as well. That dynamic means that there's a significant opportunity for startups and SMEs in that ecosystem. I think one of the most significant ways that Australia as a whole can lift economic performance is if we get better at ensuring that innovative SMEs are able to tap into the vast research and technical talent which exists in CSIRO and in the university sector more broadly. We know that's important because SMEs make up a huge proportion of our companies and economic output and account for the vast majority of jobs in the country. CSIRO recognises this, and as part of our SME engagement strategy, we've committed to an ambitious SME Collaboration Nation initiative, where we aim to at least double the rate of SME research collaboration in three main ways: by amplifying existing facilitation programs, by working to simplify and remove barriers to collaboration, and by helping businesses and researchers understand the value of collaboration for positive impact. This work is built on a few things. We're both doing this work as we speak, but we're also thinking about it at the same time. Now is the time when, if I'd been using slides, I would have given you the spider warning. And that warning is to close your eyes if terrifying large close-up images of spiders would cause you anxiety. Happily or sadly, I went for the no slides option today. Those of you watching along from home and feeling brave could multitask now and look up the Critipedia site. That's critipedia.com. This is a new company making an AI-powered rapid identification critter app. It's due for launch later this year, and it's a collaborative project with Data61 to use machine learning and citizen science to take the guesswork out of animal spotting. The idea is you take the app, take a picture of the critter, and the algorithm instantly identifies it and gives you information about threat levels. That's an interesting use of AI, an interesting use of citizen science, because we have lots and lots of people taking photos and uploading them, and that data is used by the algorithm to learn, but also to link it to other data such as GPS data and other information. The company involved were introduced to Data61 researchers through the CSIRO Kickstart team that's part of my team in CSIRO. That team assists startups find R&D capabilities while providing dollar-matched funding for projects. We started the Kickstart program back in 2017 to provide a program specifically targeted to young and very small businesses, because we'd worked out that there was really a gap in programs that were being offered by state and federal governments. Approved projects in this program can access up to $50,000 in dollar-matched funding and get the benefit of the connections and knowledge of research capability which sits in our SME Connect team. Demand for this program is really strong and continuing, and the Critipedia story is just one of many. I mentioned a moment ago that we were both doing this work and thinking about it at the same time. And in order to work out how and why SMEs do or don't collaborate, we decided to do some research of our own. Surprisingly, this sort of research really hadn't been done much before. We teamed up with RMIT University to ask some key questions of 800 Australian SMEs. 400 of those SMEs had previously collaborated with research, and 400 hadn't had any previous involvement at all. The report was really about identifying barriers, enablers to collaboration. It's really interesting. It was released about a month ago, and you can download it from our website, or you can get in touch and I can send it to you. It's really helping to shape our thinking and our work in this space. A couple of related themes that did emerge from that research was the importance of the opportunity to start small and build trust and experience working together. That's important for both the researcher and for the SME. And another was that serial collaborators that did multiple collaborations, accessed multiple funding programs, were much more successful. A lovely example of both of those themes in action is the Lease Info team. And I think there's a panel session later today where someone from the company is presenting. So lease management involves coordinating vast amounts of documents on accounting, administrative and legal requirements. In the past, this was done manually, but the Lease Info people recognised that by digitising the process, it could massively decrease the time and effort required to gather and collate that information. LeaseInfo approached the SME Connect team, which is part of CSIRO, and asked for assistance to see if they could use several thousand pages of contracts to turn it into a novel fast management platform. We introduced them to Data61's natural language processing team, and a Kickstart project initially was developed to test whether the information could be abstracted from PDF and scanned contracts. The good news, it could be. The highly advanced contract reading technology which was developed, now called Accurate, drastically decreases the time and resources needed to extract contract data, as well as reducing human error, and it formulates that data into a reliable exportable format. LeaseInfo has gone from strength to strength, acquiring many new customers, being selected by one of the world's largest lease management systems companies as a preferred supplier of this value-added service. The partnership between the LeaseInfo and Data61 team continues to improve and develop the technology. They've built really, really strong relationships with the researchers, and they've accessed multiple support programs to help along the way. After that initial Kickstart program, they've gone into a number of other projects, including one funded through Innovation Connections. The Innovation Connections program is part of the Entrepreneurs program run by the Department of Industry, Science, Energy and Resources, or DISA, as we affectionately call them. CSIRO is the national provider of the Innovation Connections program, and we've got facilitators right across the country who work with SMEs to understand their research needs and then connect them with the research sector and help fund collaborative research projects. To be eligible, companies need to have a turnover of at least $1.5 million, up to $100 million, which is a pretty big SME, and have been operating for 3 years. And projects that are approved can access dollar-matched funding grants, provided that the project is in an identified growth sector. It's an incredibly valuable service, both for the access to the funding, but I think more importantly for that facilitation part, where we have someone working with a company, understanding needs and really identifying right across the research ecosystem who's the best researcher to help the company with what they need. The LeaseInfo team also accessed other programs, including New South Wales Tech Voucher and another CSIRO program, the CEF Ross Metcalf STEM Plus Business Fellowship program. And that was really a follow-on from those earlier programs, because this is a really in-depth program which allows SMEs to build on those successful collaborative research projects, providing funding support to place an early career researcher into the company to work with the business to develop new ideas and commercial potential. It's been an incredibly successful partnership with LeaseInfo. There's lots of other examples. One of the things that we want to do as part of our SME engagement work is really to make sure that SMEs can find all of these different programs and funding opportunities and to see more serial collaboration as a result. So you might ask, how do you tap into all of this? SME research facilitation at CSIRO is led by the SME Connect team. That team's primary role is to meet with SMEs, understand their R&D issue and connect them with the most relevant research capability for their business. As well as having extensive connections into CSIRO and the wider research and sector in universities as well, they're able to assist in accessing those dollar-matched funding programs to either help projects proceed at more impactful speed or just to manage the cost for business. I'll leave it there, but I think, if I ask, are there 3 things you might want to remember from this address? First, look up the chair project images and think about different ways of conceiving the role of the human and the role of machine. Sign up for the Critipedia app so you'll always know whether to run screaming from that spider or snake or just admire its beauty, and connect with the SME Connect team at CSIRO to help you tap into a fantastic way to find talented researchers who can help your business and help you access funds. Thanks so much for your time today. I wish you and the symposium organisers every success over the coming days, and I look forward to some really interesting presentations and discussions. Thank you.